Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Morgan and thank you so much for tuning in on this lovely day. It's currently Saturday for you guys. For me, it's Friday and yeah, filming this ahead of time did not work this week. I'm gonna blame Netflix and starting The Last Kingdom. Today though, I want to do our April wrap-up to talk about all the lovely things we read in April. For the ones that I did do full reviews on, I will just touch briefly, and mostly we will just do a focus on those that didn't get their own spotlight. The first book that got finished in April that I started sometime in March, it was kind of my secondary book that I was reading. Like I had other things in front of it and I would just kind of read it on my phone while I was at the gym or somewhere else. But finally I got it to where I was just only reading that one. And that would be The Savage Lands by Stacey Marie Brown. This is the first book in the Savage Lands series, which is the third series in this fae type world. It's a magical realism. I started with this book first because of Chelsea with Books and Goats. I had it hyped in my head a lot too. And then when I finally was starting to read it, and maybe since it wasn't top priority, but then I guess if it had really grabbed me, it probably would have got pushed over those other things that I was reading. But it didn't. And it wasn't that it was bad. I overall gave it 3.75 stars because I liked it. The story was good. 20 years before this book starts, the barrier between the world of the fae and the mortal realm is collapsed, which causes all-out war and havoc. And the fae pretty much take over us. They are our rulers now. Except in Budapest, and not even all of Budapest, like half of Budapest is controlled by humans and the other half is controlled by one of the fae kings. And the human resistance, though, is only a few countries strong, and it's pretty much military dictatorships. Only the high military and the uber wealthy, which are kind of the same people, actually live in anything nice. Other than that, it's all fight or be killed to survive if you're not in with the fae. More than half of the human population was wiped out because the fae hold the grudge of, how a millennia or so ago we would kill their people off. And every type of fae that's ever been in fairy tales is in the book or talked about as real as part of the book. And they're described, and some of them, the high fae, of course, are going to be, your sexy fae. But then there are the other ones that are the more hideous or awful kinds. And some of them are just the goofy sounding kinds. Our main character is Brexley Kovacs, who is kind of an orphan. Her father was a high-ranking military person in the Human Federation there in Budapest. And when he was killed in battle, his good friend, who is actually the leader of the Human Defense Forces, kind of adopted her into his family. So her whole life she has been submitted to like the best education, the highest military training, and the highest of the self-pampering and all that kind of stuff. But she doesn't consider herself pampered though, because she's like, well, I'm a warrior first. Until her circumstances change, and then she's like, I didn't really realize how good I had it. And from the get-go though, we're told about her love interest of her best friend, and but pretty much she's also like this adrenaline junkie, and in trying to steal from the rich in a Robin Hood type situation, she is caught and by the fae and sentenced to fairy jail, which is pretty much a death sentence. She ends up in the death pits where it's kill or be killed against everybody. As it keeps going, she gets to fight the top dude who has been the top for a very long time, and he presents this aura of power that just keeps everybody away from him. And all the ladies, of course, want to get with him because he's also like this So, yeah, aura. I'm sorry. It's very hard to describe while also keeping it clean because I'm afraid my 10-year-old will watch this. Yeah. Complicated. Pretty much, though, things go down. Prison break. She confronts her feelings for Warwick, which is the Uber dude, and backstabbing. And so I kind of want to read book 2 because I'm like, what the crap? And I know there's 4 books out. The 5th one's coming out. So, and then I kind of also want to read the backstory. Oh, and the day that the fairy wall came down was the day Brexley was born. So and it's mentioned more than once. So I have a feeling that's important in some form or fashion. My biggest issue with the book, though, is some of the repetitiveness of the scenes. At least it felt repetitive the way it was talked about or presented. The romancy scenes, it just didn't... Some of them didn't make sense with her character. And then what happened at the end was just a complete put her character on her head. She was smarter than that. She was so much smarter than that. And yet she was going to run right into a trap and not even think about it. She was smarter than that. There's enough, of the twisties and the questions, though, that, yeah, I'm going to continue the series. I probably completely described it horribly here. So maybe you should watch somebody else talk about that one, if it does at least sound interesting enough. Yeah. The second book for April would be my copy of the Stardust Thief that I got from NetGalley as a advanced reader copy to be able to submit reviews for. And I have the video linked up above and down below so that you guys can check it out for the full review. I gave this book 3.75 stars because I enjoyed it. It was just some things, I don't know, some things could get more work done to them. The concept of the story, though, was amazing, and it is 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights feel and lore kind of worked in, but tweaked to fit into this specific world where you do have jinn that kind of exist on their own plane now, but used to exist with us and will sometimes cross over with us. And, well, awful people kill them to steal their magic. Yeah. And I love a lot of the things that happened in this book and the way the story was just told and expanded upon, how things grew through kind of the side branches of the story. Like, we had our main thing of where the story was supposed to go, but sometimes stuff happened along the way, and that's what really wove everything together. Like, these little details that they picked up along the way really, really worked together. And I'm very excited for the way the world can probably grow as she continues the trilogy. Right? A series. I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be a trilogy. We'll find out though. But yeah, I think possibly there could have been a little bit more done to make you really have the world come alive around you. Other than that, though, I really enjoyed this book. Some of the characters too acted out of character a little bit, a little repetitiveness. Again, that's just the problem I have with pretty much everything, though. If things repeat, I get agitated. Yeah. Can't stand when my kids do it either. It's a pet peeve. I just can't do that. But yes, if you would like a more in-depth one on this one, please go check out my video with the full review of it. Because yeah, I talk about a lot of ones in that. Non-spoiler to spoiler. I might have talked a lot about spoilers. Completely gave stuff away. Tried not to for some of it. I did try to hold a few things back. so that way you can check it out in May. Book number 3 of this month would be my favorite. Yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and say it. This was my favorite book this month, and that was the Kaiju Preservation Society, which also got a full review video, and yeah, it was unexpectedly funny. Like, and it was just, it felt so real. The characters felt so real. This one is more of a sci-fi alternate history kind of, because it takes place in 2020 while the world is shut down with Corona, and our main character is a food delivery person in New York, hating life and how in the world it got to be where he was. And all of a sudden, an old acquaintance offers him this opportunity to do something different, something actually, you know, that he might find more meaningful or at least enjoyable. He accepts because he doesn't want to keep being a delivery person who can barely pay rent. And lo and behold, it is to go to an alternate Earth with Kaiju, which I think Godzilla type creatures. And most of the book is just the day-to-day operations of where they are, and yet it's just so good. It's just so good, and it's very short. It's only about 201 or 221 pages, and this one was a 4-star read for me because I just liked it. It felt so good to read it. So for a book that I was highly anticipating, and it came out and it was so good. And to hear me rant on this more, go check out my video. Because yeah, I go into it for this one too. I don't think I spoiled the ending quite as much with this one. Maybe I do. Is it weird that I no longer remember everything I babbled about in that video? Maybe. The next book that I read this month was one I actually had a physical copy for, so I got to hold it and, you know, feel all accomplished as I could see progress being made, turning pages and whatever. It's Mariner's Wake by Adam Marsh. I received this from a Goodreads giveaway some months ago, and I felt bad because I still got it on my TBR, but I finally got it. And yeah, it wasn't for me, but I mean, some people might like it. I'm sure that some people will enjoy this, but personally, I could only give it a 2.75 stars. Because I'm sorry, but the story, what sounded good in the summary didn't play out very well. And also, there was just too much unexplainedness. Too much of things that are up in the air that shouldn't have been. I like the camaraderie of the society, how very close-knit they were, how even like if you're not born a mariner, if you're adopted into the mariner society, it's just a very trusting band. And yeah, I pretty much like how their society is run, I guess. It's a very good group of people, it sounds like. And the Mariners were formed 3 generations ago by people who first defected from the United States after a great war. This takes place a little bit in the future, I know that much. It doesn't necessarily say what year the book takes place in or when the Mariners started. It's just there's chapter headers, like the very first one, that it has the little thing that's outtakes from other things, like from a book called Reborn at Sea, Mariner History 2041 to 2063. So, does that mean the Mariners were started in 2040 or 2041? And if it's already a history book, and she mentions reading, you know, the histories at some point, so when does it take place? And we're already very advanced at this point too, because on the mainland and other countries, people are having implants done that augment them in different ways, such as fingertip augmentation to let you control electronics and computers, because there's at least 2 characters who have those sorts of things, and one is very smart, and he has the highest advanced one because he worked for that sort of company before something happened and he was like blackballed from the industry. One of those things that's also never really explained. But he has full-in nerve implants, so like he can see a computer screen out of one of his eyes and do computer analysis computations with his brain, seeing it on the screen through his retina, and he has the fingertippy things where he can like just type on a surface. So yeah, that was Trin, and he's actually probably my favorite character in the book. Poor cowardly Trin, who was in horrible situations through most of the book, but I found his character the most likable. Kara was okay. Anger issues into indecisiveness, into just not thinking that she was the right person to be able to do things. They caused things to, go a little south in the way that things were handled. But mostly, my biggest issue with the book is the I don't knows of it. Well, why is this happening? How do we get to this point? Why do we even see through this person's point of view? That doesn't help the story at all. That's my takeaway from it. The 5th book that I finished this month was Written in My Own Heart's Blood by Diana Gabaldon. This is the 8th book in the Outlander series, and I started this audiobook at the beginning of the month and just picked it up physically after reading that one. And I like the physical copies because sometimes they have things. Yeah, this is from the library, so I can't really see the family tree there, but it's got a nice family tree that shows things, which is kind of cool. I love the audiobooks for this series though, because Davina Porter just does an amazing job. I think I liked it better than 7. It picks up right where 7 stopped though, and I gave this one a 4 stars as well, because yeah, what to say with this book though, because it is so far into the series. So for those of you who haven't read, there's not as much that can be said about this one, except it was good and it showed maybe from a few more perspectives. The whole Outlander series though, for those who might not have heard about it, period, is centered around Jamie and Claire Fraser. Claire was originally from the 1940s, I want to say, and on a second honeymoon with her husband Frank Randall after the end of the war, and they had finally gotten to where they could see each other again because they had both been stationed in different places. Frank was an intelligence gatherer with the British Army, and Claire was a nurse. And she's always been drawn to healing and herbs and all sorts of practices like that. But on their second honeymoon to Scotland, they come across a group of standing stones, and she can hear the stones kind of calling to her. And when touching them, she is sent back to the past, about 200 years. And she is just thrown for a complete loop. At first, she believes she's dreaming, hallucinating, until, she almost dies. And she's managed to be saved by a group of Scottish outlaws, which is how she meets Jamie. And at first, she doesn't want to be there. She keeps trying to escape, trying to find her way back, being also threatened by the Scottish people because she's British and they think maybe she's a spy. She ends up having to marry Jamie, which she feels immensely guilty about because she's like, my husband is still alive. But she can't really tell anybody that because they would think she's crazy or a witch. And yeah, so they end up being married, and she likes him okay, she finds him friendly and enjoys his company in that manner. But yeah, it isn't until later on, through the first book, that they really start to fall in love, and because she realizes there's possibly there's no way that I'm going to be able to go back to my life. All the books take place from there as events happen, and I just like this series. I like the romance of it, the historical aspects of it. It's just, and Diana Gabon, yeah. She does a lot of research. Like if you've ever read her author's notes, and she has set up a whole bibliography website, she does so much research to be able to put the historical events that she puts in the books accurately. It's amazing, really. She does a good job. So that is why I like the series and I like the books. The sixth book that I read this month would be book 12 in the Nina Wild and Eddie Chase series, which is the Midas Legacy by Andy McDermott. I was only able to give this book a 3.5 stars, but I still really, really enjoyed it with the adventure of it, the archaeological, that is the word, goodness, I cannot think of that, ness of it was still nice, but it wasn't as much. Like, okay, the adventure, sure, yes. World hopping, stuff blowing up, all sorts of that. They have a 4-year-old daughter now. 3-year-old daughter. And so at the beginning of the book, you know, Nina is a little bit sad that she can't go out into the field anymore, as Eddie is out there, because they had specifically been asked to help with something. And she's just feeling upset about, you know, that she's no longer actually going on archaeological digs and adventures anymore because she is home with their daughter Macy. And it was very hard, you know, for Eddie to understand, well, why isn't Macy enough and everything. And I feel that wasn't nice, because she was never saying that she didn't love being home with her daughter. It's just she missed being able to contribute to the world like she had before. And that's perfectly understandable, because like she's made all these amazing, incredible discoveries, and you know, that was her dream her whole life, was to go, you know, be an archaeologist, discover history, discover lost things. And now she's just, you know, writing books about it, or, you know, other researchy things, but not actually getting to do it anymore. And so in this book, though, they do kind of go through one. They find Nina's mother, because both of her parents were archaeologists before her. They find her old research notes and papers, and she wants to prove that her mother was right. And so they go and they find the Midas tomb that her mother had been looking for. But that was such a short portion of the book. That's what I didn't like. All the other ones, you know, it took most of the book to find the ancient artifact. But it happened so fast. And the rest of the book was all politicky, backstabbing, nuclear warhead threats, which is all actiony. So that's kind of cool, you know, and I like action books too sometimes. I've always liked the actiony bits that are in these books. But I just didn't like that the focus wasn't as much on the archaeological aspects of it. I know every single one of them have been mythologically inspired architectural things. I said architectural. Archaeological sites steeped in myth, like the lost city of Atlantis, the tomb of Hercules, Valhalla. So many things. And I loved the researching into it, the finding of out of this, where this ancient lost thing was. That's what I love these books for. So I'm really hoping in the next one, somehow, it goes into that more. And that, you know, there's less, I don't know, relationship problems because she wants to still have a job. I mean, I get it from Eddie's point of view. Her job has always put them in considerable amount of danger, more than most archaeologists reasonably would be. And now they have a kid and they have to think about the kid. But you know, she should still be able to do the thing that she loves. Maybe just not be as public about it. I don't know. Even when she wasn't famous, though, somehow they always wind up getting shot at. I'm still going to read the next one and have high hopes that, yeah. Cameron let me know that I was probably babbling a little bit too much because it's like overheating, shutting off, don't want to do anything until we cool down. I will try to make this last little bit quick, though coherent. I might babble too much too fast. We'll find out. The last book that I for sure finished in April was A Touch of Ruin, which is book 2 in the Hades and Persephone series. I gave it, I think, like a 3.5, maybe, because it just, it wasn't bad. I didn't like it quite as much as the first one. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to do that one so soon. It wasn't on my April TBR, but I was audiobooking it because I had finished Written in My Own Heart's Blood, and I didn't have another audiobook to go right away, so I was just listening to this from Scribd as I was reading my other things and driving. And audiobooking, it was probably better than just picking it up and reading. Maybe I wouldn't have gotten actually done with it already if I had been regular reading it, because some things were just stupid. I mean, they were. There's only one left in the series though, so I will read that one and hope that it picks up my opinion about it. There was one thing at the end of the book that I don't think had to be there at all. It was just an extra thing thrown in right there at the end and pretty much resolved right away. I mean, there have been sprinklings, hints of it, like through the book, little things mentioned, but it wasn't a major point in the whole book. So, and just to have it show up and get resolved within a whole chapter. Oh well, we'll finish the series out, I guess, and see what we think from there. I probably should have actually done my little mini review on that. I might still post that up soon once I complete my thoughts on it. I suppose I've been so bad watching The Last Kingdom, so I haven't written my full review of the Midas Legacy or A Touch of Ruin to get my thoughts more cohesively, but I got sucked into another historical drama and now I want to read the book for that show too. Yeah. And the last one though that I am working on and was supposed to finish this month was The Homewreckers by Mary Kay Andrews that I got the advanced reader copy of. I am almost halfway through. I like it for the most part, but the secondary storyline, like of what's going on behind the main character and everything, I don't really understand why that's there yet or how it's supposed to fit. I mean, they have already made the connection to tie it together. I think I see further in how it's going to closely more tied together there, but I don't know that it fits. I like Hattie though. She is a no-nonsense lady who just, yeah, I like Hattie. She's a very good main character. And yeah, we're going to keep reading it and figure out if she can restore this 100-year-old house in the outside of Savannah district along there. I will hopefully finish it this month. No guarantee, but it will get a full review video early in May, and it is also coming out at the beginning of May, so there's that. I have probably babbled on long enough in this video. I did not actually finish my April TBR though, because I was not able to get to the Bitter Twins, which does make me a little sad because I wanted to go into the next one of that series. But yeah, I Still though, I got so many more done this month than I thought I would. This is definitely one of the highest reading months I've had in a while. It has just been crazy busy this month. Thank you guys though so much for sticking around with me. Thank you for those who are subscribed and watching my videos. It just means so much to me. And if you haven't yet subscribed, you can click that button. That way you'll know every time I post. If you click the bell, you'll know sooner because it actually lets you know when the video comes up on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Whereas if it's just subscribed, for some reason, you might get notified like hours after the fact. It's very weird, but oh well. Thank you guys so much though for sticking around with me, and I hope you're gonna have a lovely rest of your weekend. I will see you next time. Bye guys.